Hi, my name is Ramsha, and in this presentation, I want to show you how the Venus flytrap survives and grows. It looks a bit scary if you look at it, but in video, it is actually a really smart plant that has found a way to live in a very difficult place. I'm going to walk you through how it gets energy, how it uses enzymes, how it makes ATP, and how its special traps help stay alive. So meet the Venus flytrap. The Venus flytrap is a small carnivorous plant that lives in wet bogs in North and South Carolina. Most likely, if we talk about the states, those are the states where we can find it. The soil there is very acidic and poor in nutrients, and so most plants would really struggle to survive. However, even though it has these sharp looking traps, it is still a normal green plant. It has chlorophyll and it uses sunlight to make its own food, just like any other plants do. What makes it different is that the soil cannot give it enough nutrients, especially nitrogen. So the Venus flytrap has a backup plan. It catches the insects and uses them an extra nutrient source. That combination of being a plant and also kind of a hunter is what makes it so interesting. In this talk, I'm gonna explain what it needs from its environment, how it uses that to stay alive in such a tough habitat. So, how the flytrap gets energy. You can see on the right of the screen, we have the whole process, how it actually makes and traps and gets energy. So, first, like any other green plant, it uses sunlight. In its leaves, there are tiny structures called chloroplasts. Every plant has that. These chloroplasts take in carbon dioxide from the air and the water from the soil, and it uses the light energy to turn them into sugar. That process is called photosynthesis that we are aware of. The sugar that is made in the leaves is like stored chemical energy. The plant can move the sugar around and use it later for growth, for repairing damage, and even for moving its traps. So the insects are not really just about the energy, they are more like nutrients, like human nutrients. When the plant digests an insect, it gains the nitrogen and minerals that the soil cannot provide. So you can think of the energy flow like this. The sunlight goes into the leaves, sugar is made, and then that sugar is then used as energy in the cells, while insects supply extra nutrients on the side. So, how do the enzymes help the plant? To keep all these processes that we discussed in the previous slide, to keep them running, the Venus flytrap depends on enzymes. Enzymes are proteins, but they are special proteins that act like tiny helpers in the cell, like something that speeds up the process. So they speed up the chemical reaction so that the plant can respond quickly and stay alive. Inside the cells, enzymes control the steps of photosynthesis and the steps of cellular respiration. Without these reactions would be way too slow. Inside the trap, so enzymes have endless job. When an insect is caught and a trap closes, the small glands on the inner surface of the plant releases some enzymes, which are the digestive enzymes. These enzymes break the insect down into tiny pieces and then turns them into proteins and other large molecules into like different nutrients that the plant can absorb. If these enzymes did not work properly, the plant would waste energy closing its trap but would not really get any benefit from the insect. Over time, however, that would make it weaker and less able to grow in its rough environment. How does if we just like keep going on this part really fast, what I can explain over here is that how it goes from food to making energy. Once the plant has made sugar, it turns the sugar into usable energy. This is where the ATP comes in. So inside each cell, the sugar is broken down into a series of steps. The first step is called glycolysis. It happens in the cytoplasm, which is the fluid inside the cell. Glycolysis splits the sugar into smaller parts and makes a little bit of ATP. The next steps it happens in mitochondria, and finally in the electron transport chain, that energy is stored. That the energy that is stored is used to make a large amount of ATP. The oxygen is needed for this last step. You can call that ATP is kind of a energy currency of the cell, like a coin of the cell. So the flytrap uses this ATP for everything, from closing a strap, from growing new leaves, from repairing any damage. So when we say the plant turns food into energy, we really mean that it turns sugar into ATP through these steps. It's like when a human gets a cut on their finger or whatever, the platelets help to fill that uh to close that wound, right? So in this manner, ATP helps with everything like that. If we talk about the next thing, what's the photosynthesis and what are kind of like special tricks it has? So the flytrap, the Venus flytrap, does regular photosynthesis like any other plant, but it also has clever tricks. We talk about the chlorophyll. In its leaves, it captures the light. In these light reactions, the following reaction, the plant uses that light energy to build sugar and release oxygen. That's like basic food making thing. But here is the special part that we talk about. The trap itself is a modified leaf. On the inner surface, there are standard hairs called trigger hairs. When a bug lands on the trap and touches these hairs more than once within like a short time, the plant knows it is a real prey and quickly closes the trap. This prevents the plant from wasting energy on raindrops on random debris. So we can talk about like this kind of behavior from the plant minerals and nitrogen that the box soil cannot provide. This is how it survives in a place where like most plants would fail to survive. Now we're talking about the survival. So why does the Venus flytrap succeed in such a harsh place? It uses sunlight to make its food through photosynthesis. However, it uses the cellular respiration to turn the food into ATP, which is the energy that runs everything in a cell. Enzyme control the reaction in both of these pathways and also digests the insects that it catches. By catching these insects, the plant gets nitrogen and minerals that the soil does not have, and all these strategies together show how life can adapt in very creative ways. Even if you compare Venus flytrap to a human, humans can survive anywhere once they adapt to the environment. That's a funny example if we talk about Tarzan. Thank you so much for listening to me. These are the references and the scientific sources that support the information that I have presented. They include our biology textbooks and reliable science organizations that describe the Venus flytrap, its habitat, and how it lives. And thank you so much for listening to my presentation about the Venus flytrap. I hope you see now that this plant not just something strange and scary, but is a very interesting survivor that uses energy and nutrients that it makes itself by capturing insects and other bodies in a very creative way. Thank you so much.